What's up folks, today's video is all about stretching and mobility, a topic which I have not covered at all in my entire YouTube career. Therefore it's long overdue, and it's important that we stretch people. And I'm going to be very honest with you, stretching has not been something which I've done very frequently, if at all, during my entire 10 years of lifting. However, it's becoming more apparent that I need to do it as I get older. I'm getting a little bit tighter, the joints are getting a little bit more fragile, so I need to look after myself because I want to be lifting long into the future. So I put together a full body stretching routine which you guys can do at home. Now, do take into consideration that I am a very tight individual. I have not been doing this for long, so a lot of these stretches are far from majestic. It is a work in progress, okay? So please do be patient with me.
So the first stretch is a relatively easy stretch. It's a hamstring stretch, really good for those people who have tight hamstrings. What you're required to do is lean forward, push your hips back as far as possible, slight knee bend, keeping your spine neutral. So this is the position you'd be in whenever you're doing a bent over row or when you're at the bottom of a Romanian deadlift. I'd recommend you hold this stretch, pushing your hips back at all times to maximize the stretch for 10 seconds or so and repeat 5 to 6 times. Next, we're going to go on to a downward dog. This is a really good stretch for the calves and the hamstrings, and I have realized my calves are very tight. Therefore, this is my variation of it. Okay, you'll see much more majestic variations of the stretch if you look elsewhere online, but this is just my version. The most important thing here is that you want to keep your feet flat on the ground. Your heels are not allowed to come off the ground. And ideally, you want to progress to the point where your arms and your torso are in line and the palms are flat on the ground. The next stretch, I'm not going to lie to you folks, this is probably one of the most challenging. It was for me at least. It definitely brought a tear to my eye. It's called the Pigeon Stretch, and it's really good for stretching out your glutes and your hips, particularly the outside of your legs, so your IT band and so on. And it is quite difficult to get into, particularly if you are a beginner like me. So you may need a table or something which is going to help you upright, which you can rest on. You are going to see a few variations of this online where people are leaning all the way forward and they brought their torso or their chest right down to their front knee. But I'm quite far away from getting to that point. When you're getting yourself into this position, you want to think about getting into a lunge, and then your front knee you want to bring out to the side and try and keep it around 90 degrees. Really try and push yourself deeper and deeper into the stretch. You will know if you're doing it right, but the burn and the stretch should be on your glutes, the outside of your leg. The next stretch is a relatively easy one. It's a lat stretch, and all you need to do is just kneel on the ground, put your hands out in front of you, and then push your head into the ground so you really feel that stretch on your lats. You're also going to feel the stretch in your teres major, minor, and so on, and your posterior delts. So really good stretch for people who do have tight lats and for those that do have a little bit of restriction in the shoulder joint. The next stretch, I'm not going to lie, it's a bit of a funky one. It's called the frog stretch. And this one, we are basically stretching out the inside of our legs, so your groin area and your adductors. It's almost like the opposing stretch for the pigeon stretch, because the pigeon stretch, we're stretching out the outside of the leg and the glutes. And it's important because if you do have tight adductors, it's going to inhibit the function of your glutes. So everything needs to be loosened up for it to all work properly. Key things to keep in mind is just to keep your knees at around 90 degrees and to try and keep pushing your hips into the stretch as much as possible. The next stretch is a pike fold. Clearly it's a seated one. Really good for stretching out the hamstrings, calves, lower backs, glutes. Just an overall good stretch, to be honest. The key here is to keep your legs as straight as possible. You want to try and grab your foot, grab as much of your foot as you possibly can do, and just hold the position. So each time you're doing it, you want to try and get deeper and deeper into the stretch where your chest touches your legs, but I'm pretty far off that. The next stretch is a Spider-Man lunge. So you're almost getting into the lunge position, but you want to bring your front knee out to the side and lower your torso into the lunge position so your spine is almost aligned with your thigh. This stretch is good for improving the mobility in your lower back, your hips, your hamstrings, and getting a good stretch on your groin region. So pretty much everyone should be able to do this. And with these stretches where you have to do one leg at a time, I'd recommend you hold it anywhere between 10-20 seconds, switch over to the next leg and repeat for however many rounds you want to do. The next one might look a little bit daunting. This is the back bridge, and this is really good for stretching out the spine, your entire anterior chain, It increases your mobility in your wrists, strengthens your core, improves posture. So this does a hell of a lot, and you're pretty much engaging every single muscle in your body. It's an advanced stretch, so you need to ease yourself into it, but hopefully over time you're going to be able to hold it for longer and longer. This next stretch might not be for everyone, but it's necessary for me because I have limited mobility in my ankle, so lack of dorsiflexion, which is basically how far out in front of my foot my knee can go whilst my foot is staying flat on the ground. Okay, so it's an issue for me when I'm doing squats, potentially deadlifts and other exercises, because I can't go as deep as I'd like to, and I'm limited with the amount of quad engagement which is occurring. It's often the case that the more restricted you are, the more your lower back, hamstrings and glutes are going to engage when you're doing a squatting movement. So for me personally, I'm going to spend quite a lot of my time dedicated to stretching out my calves. And since we're on the topic of squatting, the next stretch is basically just holding the position at the bottom of a squat. Ideally, this is the depth I want to reach when I've got resistance on top of my back. I'm holding onto the wall to prevent myself from falling backwards, and I'm almost trying to push myself deeper and deeper into the squat. So I'm feeling a massive stretch throughout my entire lower body. Moving back to the upper body, we're going to do a pec stretch. So this is going to stretch out your pectoral. You want to find any wall, position your elbow at 90 degrees and try and keep your elbow the same level as your pec, and then just gently push into the wall whilst twisting your torso away from the wall itself. This is hopefully going to increase your mobility at the shoulder, which should allow you to go deeper into any kind of pressing movement, and also help with scapular retraction when it comes to doing any kind of rowing movement. The last stretch is a dynamic stretch. It's the only dynamic stretch in this routine, but I thought I'd include it nonetheless. What you want to do is basically hold a broom, or ideally a band, I don't have a band, and rotate over your head, behind your back, touch the top of your glutes, and then go back out in front of your torso again. This is a great stretch for improving shoulder mobility and improving overall posture.
So there we have it, folks. That is the stretching routine. Hopefully it was informative and entertaining at the same time. Now what I want you guys to take into consideration is that was a full body routine. What you will need to do is to look at your body yourself and figure out where it is that you're particularly tight. And where you are tight, you'll need to devote more time, and particularly you may even need to do more stretches to loosen up those areas of your body. Okay, everybody's different, so everyone technically should really be doing a different routine, but that one's just an all-round one which you can follow. I also want you guys to understand the difference between static and dynamic stretches. The majority of those stretches were static, where you're holding the stretch for a certain period of time in the lengthened position. Okay, these should be done outside of the gym. The ones you want to do before a workout are the dynamic stretches, okay, where your muscles are lengthening and shortening. It's basically just to warm those muscles up in preparation for the workout itself. What you guys really need to understand is that for you to get the most out of doing these static stretching routines is you need to be consistent with it. Okay, you need to find the time to do it. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, there's times when I forget to do it. Okay, I'm trying to do this every morning, every day, okay? There are going to be days when I don't do it for whatever reason, but the more consistent I am with doing it, the more effective they're going to be, okay? And it's something which, you know, it's not going to happen overnight and you're going to do like a perfect squat or a deadlift afterwards, but if you're consistent with doing this and you get into the routine of doing it, you are going to notice that when you go to the gym, everything's just going to improve. Compound lifts are going to feel more natural. Your range of motion is going to be improved, and hopefully, most importantly, your risk of injury is going to be reduced massively, okay? So find the time to do these, be consistent with it, and give it your best shot. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon.